Hey tribe, welcome to the Empowerment Bookstore. And in this episode, we have the pleasure of introducing Jannet M. Slade Butler, a native of the Isle of Wight County, VA. She's an exceptional educator with a string of accolades. Like she's a published poet and a captivating motivational speaker. Join us as we explore her journey and discover the inspiration behind her impactful literary works. Stay tuned to hear how Janet's passion for spreading positivity and living authentically can inspire us all to be the best version of ourselves. And don't forget, at the end of every month, last month we had our first one, this month will be our next one, and maybe we'll see Miss Jannet there. But Bookworms Unite. It's an author's book swap and consignment situation that you don't want to miss. Now, without further ado, we've got Miss Jannet. How are you today?
Hello, I'm doing just fine. How about yourself?
I am so well. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We're excited to have you.
Oh, thank you.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing on that remote farm in Ivor and how it influenced your writing and your perspective on life?
I lived in Ivor from the age of probably about five and a half up until age 18 when I moved out to go to college. And it has impacted me because being on the farm, it allowed me to be free, to navigate the land, to daydream and use my imagination to the fullest, and just kind of become one with nature and enjoy family time because we should take long nature walks in the woods and everything. Caring for livestock, caring for different animals, and riding bareback on horses. We had two horses. One was Midnight, which was all black, and then, of course, Bambi, all white. And they were great horses, didn't have the saddles at the time. So we rode them bareback. We like to sing in the woods along when the wind blows through the trees and the leaves are rustling down below. It was just a lot of fun. So we got to appreciate nature in that aspect, but also bonding with family and that quality time that most of the time families don't have nowadays. But back at that time, those are some of the things we did instead of sitting in front of the TV. We would actually spend time together and do lots of walks. So it allowed me to show my creative side and connect with nature as one.
Ooh, I love that. And as a mother of two boys, I often say when they get rambunctious, it's time to remove the walls. So I can see how living in such an open space allows you to be free and allows your parents to allow that and accept it because you're not confined and it's not an agitation now because you're in this tiny space and you're expressing yourself.
Yes, and
Right?
we have to worry about the protectiveness of what families have to worry about their children going outside nowadays and being safe. We didn't have that to
Mm,
really worry about back there because we had our own space, and it was just like my sisters and brothers, and sometimes my cousins. So between 6 to 10 kids, that's a lot of kids. But it was always about family, so we just got to roam and enjoy and kind of be inquisitive and see nature at its finest and at some of the lowest points when things are decomposing and just how life works.
and that's the beauty of nature. It shows you from a very grandiose standpoint how we all are kind of interconnected. So that's a beautiful experience, and I'm sure you brought that to your writing and to all your works. Like as an educator, you've done that for over 2 decades. What do you find to be the most rewarding about teaching?
The most rewarding thing about teaching is discovering who I am as an educator, but also building capacity within others, whether it be adults or whether it be children. It's nice to see that you have an impact. You also have an influence and an insight to things, but you're also able to see the things that people learn from you. So building capacity and letting them stand on their own and become independent with the information that you have guided them with it's a beautiful thing to kind of see kind of come to fruition with. Seeing that light bulb moment with those struggling readers and saying, "Oh, I got it. I see what you were saying. Oh, you helped me do this, or I understand this now." And especially when it comes to reading, because once you learn something, no one can take it from you. It cannot ever be unlearned. And it's just like riding a bicycle. Once you do it, you'll forever have it, no matter what age you are. So seeing those difficult times being released and shared with others, reconfiguring those spaces like a blank canvas. I really like that part.
I love the way you said it because writing is a blank canvas. My youngest, I always ask him, "Do you want me to get some colored pencils?" When he's drawing, he's like, "No, mom. Some of the best things are done in black and white." I was like, "Oh,
Mhm. Yes.
The
Yes.
words.
Imagination, put that color of life from their viewpoint. Because you might want a blue
Correct.
hat, the other person might say, I want an orange hat. So, yeah.
Exactly. And it's beautiful how you've done that with your books, like Memoirs of the Heart and Shh, don't tell all of it, just tell some of it. They've touched the hearts of many readers. What inspired you to write these captivating works, and what do you hope the readers take away from them?
Those first two books were inspired by my grandmother and the writings that I did back in the younger days when I was my younger version of myself. I was a select mute, like most people know at this point. I've done it so much that I didn't talk. I just turned my voice off. And I often compare myself to Maya Angelou because that was one of my heroes when it comes to writing. She went through a lot of difficult times and felt like her voice was so powerful, it caused the death of another person, human being. And she just felt like that was egregious. So she turned her voice off. Mine was in a different arena, and that was simply because children were to be seen and not heard. And I took that as a verbal reminder that I was to be seen and never to be heard. My voice wasn't impactful, it wasn't important, it wasn't relevant. So therefore, I didn't matter, and I just internalized that. And with that being said, my grandmother was like, "Okay, if you're not going to talk, then I need you to write your stuff down." So anything that was around paper, envelope, a little sticky note, whatever the case may be, I would write my information on those pieces of paper. And I don't think sticky notes were out by that time, but it was whatever piece of paper or something that she had there, but it became too cumbersome. So she was like, okay, this is your first journal. Just start writing your things down and I'll check it. So I started just writing, just getting all my feelings out on paper. And once I started writing, I just felt a sense of release. So it was almost like a therapy that I couldn't say these words, but yet I was saying the words. And I knew it wouldn't be heard, but yet it would be heard because she would see it and she would understand and she would know how I felt because my words were my feelings and my thoughts. And that's where all of this kind of poured out onto paper. But I also wanted to pay homage to my ancestors and people that passed before me. My brother was murdered. My daughter, I lost her before she was even born great, born into this world. And just a few other people, aunts and uncles and grandparents and my dad and things of that nature. So I just kind of flip those things and put those into words. And later on, went back to read them and I said, oh, some of these things are very powerful and still make an impact on me. So let me just go ahead and put it into a book. And my daughter's father was one of the people who told me I had enough stuff to write a book. And I don't know if he was doing it jokingly or not, but that's what I ended up doing. So, yeah.
Listen, it's always some truth in a joke. Doesn't matter if he was trying to be funny. I'm glad that he said those words in whatever connotation, if it sparked you to actually go and do the thing. That's so beautiful.
Yes,
Your dedication to positivity and motivation is evident in your poetry and your quotes. But how do you stay inspired and maintain a positive mindset, especially during challenging times?
yeah, it sometimes things can be a challenge, but I often look at things as being a lesson. I don't always understand what the lesson is, and I don't always agree with it, but I know there's something powerful that I must learn that I just don't see it yet. And there's a reason for it. I just don't know it yet. Maybe I don't even need to know it in some cases. Sometimes it just is what it is. But I'm a person that also is an overthinker. So I tend to analyze things on every aspect, the good, the bad, and the indifference, inside out, front to back, top to bottom. I leave no stone unturned that I believe. But when I first open my eyes in the morning, I always tell people keep yourself surrounded by things that motivate and inspire you. So for me, when I wake up, I have my records that my dad had back when he was a little boy, and my grandparents had. So I have a lot of those taped to my walls. I have my bookshelf packed with only books like Becoming from Michelle Obama. I have poetry books that I have written myself, but I also have some from Maya Angelou. I have some from Kwame Alexander. I have a couple other ancestral ones. I went to one for Nat Turner's farm, and I picked up one there. And it was almost like a leaflet pamphlet, and it had so many powerful pieces in it. And the thing I got out of that the most was I don't need to be perfect when I write. I just need to write. And the book that I picked up, I don't remember the author's name, but I do have it. And it was a lot of typos, but it was his work. But I understood the message. The message was never lost, even with the typos. So that to me was very powerful. But just keeping yourself surrounded by people that live in their truth or trying to find their truth, but are also positive because you don't want to be negative. You just want to be positive about things. And yes, there's a lot of negative things that you do have to address. But for the most part, if you're talking about your spirit and the energy, you definitely want to keep something positive around you. So I listen to all sorts
Mm.
of music in the morning. That kind of gets myself going. I talk to myself in the mirror. Tell me what my day is going to be like. It's going to be a great day. Why? Because I'm going to do da 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 da. So I even do my list of things that I'm going to do.
Oh, I love it. We always tell the tribe to win the day before their feet hit the ground. So before, uh, as women, as people, we don't rest as much. Like we're ready to get up and go and like, phew.
Yep.
However, that's terrible for our bodies, right? So I encourage the members of the tribe to practice waking up slow. Like,
Yes.
don't get right out of bed.
Exactly.
You know, he'll say,
No,
wake up and be like, ooh, my
I
bed is
literally
not.
put an alarm clock. It gives me 7 minutes. I have seven
Okay.
minutes. 7 minutes, wake my eyes up, and I just lay there. 7 minutes, I actually look at my phone and find some music or something on that. And then I got 7 minutes. I'm just walking around the house. I'm open to let the light come through my living room, come through my front door. It's just my time. That's 7 minutes. So I got 21 minutes every morning to just do me. And then it's time to get ready
Ooh.
for my day.
And see, I love that. I love that because, again, in fitness, we tell people working out for an hour a day is not that big a deal. It's only 4% of your day. And really, that's not enough time to give yourself out of 24 hours. Like, Grant, you don't have to work out in those times, but you definitely need to give yourself more time to yourself.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm sure you tell people this as a motivational speaker, but
I do.
could you tell us maybe a particularly memorable moment or a speaking engagement that and the impact that you were able to bring to the audience?
As you know, I'm in education, so a lot of my things that I do, my speaking is in education. So we have well, we had motivational Mondays when I was working at Newsom Park, and it was just to get the kids in that mindset that I can be and do anything that I want to do and be as long as I put the work in. Because nobody's giving me anything for free. Nothing ever costs anything for free. Everything is going to cost you something, whether it's going to be your time, your energy, your motivation, your dedication, or if somebody wants something in return. They say they don't, but they usually do. So, how is it that you can stay in charge of you and impact you to make sure that you reach your goals, your destinations, and your dreams? So that was part of our motivational Mondays to kind of set the tone for the week. And they would have to think of something that they wanted to do. But I would always come up with a poem for that Monday and a little small speech just to kind of get them motivated and going and thinking about something that happened the week before. It'll impact my poem for that particular day or my speech that particular day. So I really like to encourage the children to be who they are going to be or who they like to be. But how am I going to get there? What's my journey? What's my destination? So what is my very next step? See longevity, but think now.
Ooh, that's a gem. I
Hmm.
like, people say that a lot of different ways, but I really like the way you said that. See longevity, but think
Now.
now,
Yep.
right now, because that's really all we have in life is right now.
Yeah, because you cannot step back in time. The past has already happened. The present is here and now. The future is to come. But in order to get to the future, what are you doing now to impact you? What are you doing now
Ooh.
to get back to society, to the world, to nature, to the things that have been given to you?
Mm. And these are some phenomenal questions. If you are watching, please leave questions in the comments for this phenomenal author. Um, this other book that I really love that you did, Princesses to Young Ladies. Now, as a woman, I always tell women I am the princess. There are a lot of grown women that don't honor the princess in us. Everybody just wants to be the queen, and I'm like, but the queen started out as a baby girl, and baby girl was a princess.
Absolutely. Now, this one is not a book. This is actually a program that I started here in Newport News. I've done it in Isle of White County, but not on this scale. So when I came to Newport News, I saw the need at the school because they considered it was a low income, high risk type of area. But I look at it as I didn't know. So don't call me stupid. I'm just naive because I don't know. So with the princesses, I wanted them to understand who they are and who they will be in society and what role they may play. So they have to show up. And when you show up, how are you going to show up? There's
Mm,
always a side to you. Like I can get down with the rest of them. I can get bougie too, but I can also be me. So which side am I showing and when do I need to show that? So when I show them how, when I show up to work, this is how I'm acting poised and educated because I want to show you that I know what I'm talking about. But then there are times that I'm too high a level up that I need to bring it on back down a notch because why am I talking into the language that you don't understand? So I want them to
Mm.
also talk about their etiquette, what comes out of their mouth, how to be problem solvers. When they show up, what are people seeing? Because people see you before they hear you. So what do you look like? What are you wearing? How are you presenting yourself to the world? So is that the message that you want to send? Nonverbal and verbal. So we talked about how to eat, how to pick up different silverware, and the reasons we have finger foods and when we should and shouldn't use those things. How to even get in a car with a dress on. How to sit down at a table politely. How to talk to somebody when your mouth is full. You put your fingers over, you put your hand over it, and you kind of, give them a one moment, give me a minute. Or if you're talking, your mouth is covered. So I just need a second. Those things, your mannerisms. I just wanted them to understand there's so much more and they can be so much more. But there's a time and a place that you show up in a different way. And if you want the world to see you a certain way, you have to show up that way.
Oh, I absolutely love that. You have to show up the way you want to be seen.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. Now, can you share any of the changes that you witnessed in the young girls that were involved?
At the very end, we have a closing out ceremony. Throughout the time, I'm just talking to them, like I said, about getting homework done, the reasons to do their work, and things that may not matter. And it's just for that moment, like we said, a reason, a season, or a lifetime. I have to learn it to get to the next grade level. I may not need it when I get to 10th grade. I may not ever use it again in life. So we talked about those pieces. And then we would actually go back and had the end of the year ceremony is what I called it, as a closing out, because now I have blossomed into this young lady. I was a princess when I came in, and I knew some of the fundamental things, but then I showed them other things along the way. Now, at the end, we were putting it all together. So we had to serve the families, their families. We invited their families out, and we invited the administration to come to see the things that they learned. So we had things catered. And they had to actually serve them with the silverware, set the tables. They had to dress up. They had to present themselves one way. They had a speech and talk about the things that they learned and what they were becoming and what they would like to become, because you're forever evolving. It's nothing is ever going to stay the same. You're constantly changing. So what are you looking to for in life, and how do you want to show up at the end of this? And when the things close out, what is your journey going to say about you? So they had to make their little speech. They did that, and then we actually catered to the families. And then I gave them a certificate saying princesses to young ladies, and then it was honored too. And I put the name at the bottom, and the administration signed it. So we had that award ceremony at the end, let them know they graduated to the next level.
Oh my goodness. So you created a rites of passage.
Yes, yes,
Oh
ma'am.
my goodness. Thank you for that because
You're
that
you're
is
welcome. I
in
enjoy it.
my travels, just watching our
Mhm.
people, unfortunately, that is one of the major things that has been stripped from us is our
Yeah.
rites of passage.
Hmm.
And it's been on my heart to create something, but now I think it's more so just connecting with people who have already created that thing and figuring out how we can um, implement this thing across, more
Yeah.
places because
Exactly. Collaboration all the time, making those connections. And just because I've done it this way doesn't mean it can't be done some other way. But it is also connecting and learning different things, because I also wanted to bring in our heritage. I know that's on the school ground, so there's certain things and restrictions and guidelines, but there are other places that we can do this as well. And I love the way that you said a rite to passage, because I did that with my daughter when she went from a young lady, a young girl, to womanhood. As we know, the change comes. So we had that talk, that conversation. It was a whole little ceremony. And my child looked at me like I had lost my mind. I said, but I
Mhm.
want you to understand what this brings when your body changes and what it means. So we had that conversation. And then, of course, we had a little dinner and everything else. And she was just kind of like overwhelmed and pleased at the same time. She's like, does everybody do this? She said, they should. I said, I don't know what other people do in their families, but this is what we do in ours.
That's right. That's right.
Everybody
Knowledge
has a
is
different way.
absolutely power. I have a phenomenal artist that is a part of the tribe. That once we get our brick and mortar building, we will do those like period parties with kind of education
Mhm.
and celebration around the fact that you are a woman now. You
Exactly.
can do something that nobody else can do, and it is a very, very sacred
Mhm.
thing, like to be cherished, to be nurtured during especially those cycles. I'm so glad that you did that with your daughter because a lot of us do not have that experience. We just kind of are shown the pads in the bathroom and like have at it.
Exactly. Have at it. Do what you got to do. It's gonna come every month. That's all. Each and every
Right.
I was told. I was like, what?
I'm like, okay, so like I felt I'm remiss. Like what? Okay, what? Like that's
Exactly.
all the information that you're gonna give me about this thing? Okay,
But see, my
cool.
thing is too is I don't like to water things down and I don't like to sugarcoat it. I need to call the thing. Call it what
Hmm.
it is. I don't like to use those little baby tones with people when it comes to certain things. I want you to be educated. If you're going to be educated, I don't want you to walk out in public and says, "Well, yeah, you know, the little thing you did does the little thing." No, I need you to know what the actual terms are. Call it what it is. You're of age, and this is what it is. And I want
Correct.
you to know and have that information that guides you in the right direction. So when you're asking somebody, you are able to articulate with that, with the correct vernacular. Because if you're not able to do that, people gonna look at you sideways. And like, what
Mm,
age are you? No, 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 we're not doing that. No.
that part. And see, even all of this, that is living authentically, right? Under being able to understand and communicate yourself.
Yes.
Um, it's beautiful. And the fact that you believe in it and that you live it, it's inspiring. But
Thank you.
how do you navigate the challenges and remain true to yourself?
For me, like I said, I often sit back and I observe before I actually implement anything. And I'm that person that sits behind the lens, behind the curtains. I need to process it. I don't just react. I actually process everything. I have to look at it a couple of different ways, different angles, and then I try to collaborate with somebody if I still am not able to, get the information out or use the terms that I know I need to use. If I'm not even sure what my message is supposed to be, I actually have to sit back and collaborate with somebody else and get some feedback before I actually go out and do that.
I love that. And so I read this book, The Power, Passion, and Pain of Black Love. And that is one thing that it says that we don't do as much as we should. And that's seek counsel in love, in all things love, whether that's raising children, whether that's committing to a partnership with a person. The
Mhm.
community should be more involved in our interpersonal decisions because that's who they affect, is the community.
Exactly. And the other thing is you can expect nothing, nothing, absolutely nothing from somebody else. You can only expect from yourself. And the reason I say expect nothing from somebody else because you end up putting your terms, your boundaries, your restrictions, and your beliefs onto that other person. Let a person show you who they are and how they're going to show up for you, and then you move accordingly. But be loyal and truthful to yourself first. And you're only in control of yourself, nobody
Okay,
else.
Miss Maya, I heard that. I heard that. When a person tells you who they are, believe them.
Absolutely.
A-
Absolutely.
And to that, what advice would you give some inspiring poets and writers who want to make a positive impact with their words?
My thing is get it out on paper. Just write, 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 and write. Once you feel like you've got it all out of your system and it's on that piece of paper, then you go back and you read it as it stands. Don't do any revisions. Do your second read. Once you've done your second read, you're going to do a third read. On your third read is where you start changing things and adding things. So you're going to do your revisions. Once you've done your revisions, go back to that first read again. Now you're sitting with a different set of eyes, a different set of lenses, and saying, okay, I have this. Is this really the message that I want to, put out there to the world? Am I really trying to say this? What is my perception? What am I feeling about it? How do I feel about it? And what questions might somebody else have about my work? And am I writing it for them or writing it for me? What's my audience? So my writings are really for me. Somebody else's perspective is going to be different. And so in my last book, the perspective of the author, which is myself, my brother, and my daughter, my niece, because all four of us did it together, I asked them to put a blurb underneath of it. What is your perspective of your piece? What are you trying to tell the audience? And then they're going to take their own message all together. Because I wrote a piece about 2 years ago, and I put it on Facebook, and I can't even remember the title of it. I think it was like "The Hate You Give, I Feel," or something like that. And I wrote it, and I asked people their opinions and what they thought of it. And they honestly thought it was directed at somebody. And at that point, it was not directed at anyone particular. I felt the hate. I felt the need to tell you this because this is what you gave to me. And that was my perspective of it. It was based off of me and the feelings about myself.
Oh. And that's honestly, that's something that a lot of people can't understand. That level of self-reflection will have you change your own action in mid-action to be like, whoa, that
Yes.
is not who I am. I don't like that. I can't believe I said that. I am,
Hmm.
you completely like a bird in the air, make an adjustment.
And just know once it's out there, you can't take it back. You can't swallow it. You can't grab it. You can't run after it. You can't tuck it away. You can't hide it. You can't run from it because it eventually, anything that happens in the dark shall come to the light. So
Hmm.
whatever you put out there, whether it be negative or positive, on purpose, intentional, unintentional, just know you have to deal with it and you have to hold yourself accountable and take responsibility for that. Know when to say I'm sorry. Know when to say that I'm wrong and be okay with that because we're not going to be perfect and we're human. There's not one single person on this earth that can say that they are 100% at 100% of the time. None. None of us.
That's right.
Own
And
it.
no offense, but who would want to be? I mean, being perfectly imperfect is a beautiful thing, I think.
And so that's my thing. If you're perfectly imperfect, you have room to grow. You can
Hmm.
change. And that's what change is all about. Because if all of us were the same cookie cutters, there'd be no adventure. There'd be no reason to look anywhere. There's no reason to collaborate. There's no reason to think. There's no reason to do anything at that point. None.
That part.
Mhm.
So, with that, can you tell us a specific moment in your life that has profoundly influenced your writing and motivated you to share your wisdom with others?
As I've said, life changes so much. I even have a poem in about things change, and I don't really like change, but I do embrace change. And I say that to say this is that change is going to happen with or without you. Are you going to show up? And if you do, how are you going to show up? And I go through all these different cycles at different times. So my writing changes all the throughout the seasons, whether it be cold, hot, happy, sad, love, or not. But the overall changes that I felt was when the death of my child, the murder of my brother, losing my grandmother, the matriarch of the family, losing my one parent that I had, which was my father, because I was raised by my father. Um, then I also had my nephew. So all of those changes, along with the end result of having a divorce, all that impacts a person, and it takes a little bit away from you every step of the way. But how are you going to patch yourself back up? For me, my therapy again is my writing. My therapy is helping others, acts of service. But my love language is also acts of service. So for me, it's that human touch, those emotions, those things are all profound to me that make me to revert back to my writing. So whenever I feel like I have to do those things, I compartmentalize, I shift it, and I deal with things one by one.
Mm, that's a blessing. Ah, I
So
tell
your
you,
technology
technology is doing.
thing today. But I got a
It's
backup
so
plan. You
weird.
see, I got a backup plan. I would not be foiled. But as a mother, we to your daughter, and her name is Alexis K. Butler. Is that correct?
Yes, Alexis K. Butler. She is my pride and joy,
Yeah,
my biggest
yes.
accomplishment, my blessing, my boo. Ooh, I can never say enough about her. She has always got my back. And that's not the reason I had this child, though. The reason I had this child was out of love. And I just wanted an entity of me and, of course, my husband. And she is so much like the two of us. So I cannot say enough. She's my biggest influence. She has impacted me. She keeps me going. And Lord Jesus, I'm over here talking about fitness and things of that nature, and she keeps me grounded. Like I got a bottle of water. She just bought me a little canister the other day. She's like, well, this one's cute, so if you look at it long enough, maybe you'll drink some from it. Left it the other day on purpose. I looked at it on the counter and I said, I'll just get my little bottle. I'll just do my little bottle because I can take that away. I'll just drink my little bottle. Why did the phone ring says you forgot your water? I looked at it, I ignored the message. And then she turned around, she calls me. I ignore the phone call because I know what that message is going to be. Then the front desk calls me from where my meeting is and says, your water bottle has arrived. I said,
Ooh.
okay, I hear you. I accept it. I receive it. I've tried not to, but she's always got my back and she's always respected me. I've had no trouble at all. Nothing that I can complain about, nothing that I even need to bring to the forefront. It's just, it's a challenge sometimes being a parent only because of my values and my standards. that I try to implement in a certain way. But I also try to give her that free reign to be who she is and finding herself, because I'm raising a human being that's going to go out here in this world. And I want her to be the most responsible and productive version of herself, along with being contributing to society. So, how is she going to show up? And what reflections is that going to be of me and her father as
Mm.
parents? I am a single mother, but not a single parent. We parent together, whether we're together or not. I'm only a single mother because I'm in a different household and I'm still her mother. But other than that, we are raising her together, and this journey is not over. My journey with her will forever be something I treasure.
Oh my, I absolutely love it. I love it. Especially seeing you gush. Like as a daughter, it is a phenomenal thing to hear. Unfortunately, there are a lot of women out there that don't like children or their children. So
Mhm. I
blessings
love
to
mine.
you. Yeah,
Anytime
but
I
just
get off, we're together. I hear people say, "Well, I paid till 6. They're gonna stay till 6." Not me. I get off at 2. I'm getting her at 2:05. Okay, I'm
that
running
part.
the
Because
clock.
we got things to do. I got my road dog need to come with me
Yes, yes.
so we can go
I
live
call them,
life.
"Look, I'm heading so and so." She's like, "But you're gonna I'm passing Ross now, but I'm coming back up with you. You at home? Okay, let's go."
That's right. Let's get it. Let's get it. So,
Yeah,
Miss Janet, before we end this show, it's been amazing chatting with you, even with all the technical difficulties.
I know,
It
but it's
has
been
been,
nice.
yes, I've gleaned so much from just listening to
Oh,
you.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on this podcast. It really does help me to come out because, even believe it or not, I am a complete introvert. So when I get off of here, that couch right over there has my name all on it.
Listen, and I
That's
do not
me.
blame you. I do not blame you. People think that I am an extrovert, but really, God just calls me to be an extrovert. So I have to
Exactly.
become what He says.
What
I
he says,
too.
you have to see, and I've done that before, where I have ignored, and pulled the covers over my head, pulled the wool over my eyes. I have turned my back, the whole nine. But when the calling is so loud and screaming at you, you can't do nothing but answer. And I do. Look, there's one poem in here about the doorbell ring. Let me read that real quick. This is out of book
Oh,
one, and it's
I love
called
it.
Memoirs from the Heart, Mind, and Soul. But the title of this poem is "The Doorbell Rang." I heard a sound. Hush, I say, as the doorbell rang. I did not answer. I heard a knock, but I did not answer. I dare not answer. Who could it be? Should, could, or would? I opened the door. There they were, all three just glaring at me. Should have told me. Could have tried. Would have made a difference. They yell, they scream. I stand like a soldier, then fall to my knees, crying, weeping, screaming in agony. Why? 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 I ask. And that one reminds me of not answering the call.
Mm,
When you answer that call, you'll understand what your journey and your destiny is supposed to be. Because you can't go past it. It's gonna keep knocking and calling.
that
And if
part.
you, yeah, but if you try to ignore it, it's gonna get louder and
And listen, and it's gonna start. You gonna start to feel like you going, kicking and screaming. So you might as
louder.
well
Yes,
go joyfully.
exactly. Look, one way or another, you going. Like Mama said, you
You
get in
going.
that car today.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So before we go, can you tell the viewers where your next whatever is book signing, book reading, poetry speaking? How can we find you? Where can we link up with you? What social media platforms are you on? Tell us all the things.
Okay, let's see. Starting with the events, I have an event that I'm hosting with my daughters called Paint Poetry Mixer. It's going to be on October the 14th, and it's going to run from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. It can be a couples event, a friend event, a marriage date night event, whatever you want to call it. But the canvas is large enough for two to share, or if you just want to come solo, come solo. I'm going to be putting that on Facebook after a while. I'm going to do it. It's not going to be on the Eventbrite, but you will have to pay for the ticket to come. And it will be at our favorite Paperbacks Inc. bookstore. And I'll be hosting along with my daughter, and we'll provide everything for you along with some snacks. So please come out and support. I have another event, but I'm not hosting that one. I'm in this one, and this one's called Survivors for what did she tell me? Surviving off of broken pieces. I'm sorry. I don't know why I missed that title, but surviving off of broken pieces. And that's also in October. and I'll get that date for you as well. And I do believe it's the following weekend, should be the 18th. But it's a walk runway for the ladies, and it's also an event for anyone who would like to come out and kind of, support us and chaperone. I'll also be there to do one of my poems, and we'll have some vendors there on site as well. And her name is Regina, and her last name is Crockett, and she'll be the host of this event, Surviving Off of Broken Pieces. So I'll be in that runway walk along with a few other ladies. So if you'd like to come out and support us, please do by all means. And I think that's it for right now. That's coming up. I'm kind of slowing down because school is also starting, and I'm just doing those things on the backside. I have a podcast coming up tomorrow night, and I'll be on there with my, matter of fact, the man that did my covers. I'm going to
Love
be
it.
on his podcast tomorrow. So you might want to come out and check that out too. That'll be at 6 o'clock. I don't know if I have the link. I think he's going to give me a link a few minutes beforehand, but it's also going to be live on Facebook. So if you want to check that out, it starts at 6:30 tomorrow night.
Ooh, all right,
Yes. But
girl.
you
You
can
better be
find me on
doing all of
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. My books are on Amazon. I have my arts and crafts stuff for my crocheting items or on Etsy.com. It's my first name dot last name.
Oh my goodness, Renaissance woman, my
Woo!
favorite, the
The
jack of
grandmother.
master of many trades.
Yes.
It's been such a pleasure. I'm gonna drop you into the background here. And oh my goodness, tribe, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. You know, literacy is one of my favorite things. And because of that, we're hosting a monthly Bookworms Unite. So if you're an author, aspiring author, if you have books that you would like to donate to this phenomenal bookstore, as an author, if you'd like to consign your books to this bookstore and be in the bookstore, oh my goodness. Come and join us this month, August 26th from 3 to 5. I know the flyer says from last month. I'm so proud of last month's event. Now, before we wrap up this inspiring episode with Miss Janet, we want to express our heartfelt gratitude for her sharing her words of wisdom and passion with us today. Her journey and empowering words have undoubtedly left us a lasting impact on all of us. So, to all our viewers, thank you for joining us on this enriching literary journey. We hope you found inspiration in Janet's story and her beautiful works. Remember to like, subscribe, and share our YouTube channel to stay updated on more remarkable authors and their captivating stories. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Empowerment Bookstore, where we'll continue to explore the magic of literature and empower ourselves through the written word. Until then, keep reading, keep learning, and keep spreading positivity in your own unique way. Thanks a lot, tribe. See you soon. Peace.